guess anybody does, but to disregard, it's a nice way to put it, your family over your work, I think I just don't I don't subscribe to that. I never have. And I also think that your longevity as a film, as a creative person or a filmmaker, whatever you want to call it, will suffer if your family isn't like in the right spot. So I believe, I'm a big believer in that you're only as good as your family life. I know a lot of people don't think that way, but that's what I feel.
I feel similar. I grew up close to my family, and my wife is even more close with her family, and I've been able to get integrated into her family, and I noticed that when I don't have that, or if I notice that I'm not around family for a specific amount of time, I feel like I change a little bit.
Yeah.
And I think that's really important what you said, that you decided to focus on short form.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people come in knowing that they want to do features or shows, and they might be gone for 6, 8, 10, a year, or whatever it is. But I think is it courageous, you think the word is, that you decided to focus on one thing?
No, I don't think it's courageous at all. I think it has to do with mental health, honestly. I believe in that deeply. I haven't done a lot of movies. I've done 1 or 2, whatever it is. They were pretty bad experience. I mean, the last one was a really bad experience. It was really hard, and the people on set were just, it was like pretty sad people.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Did you know that going into it?
No.
I guess, was that kind of your final straw for narrative?
No.
Do you have any more interest?
Oh yeah. No, I'll definitely do narrative. Now that my kids are getting older too, I feel like that's something that I can start to do, and I'm still really excited for it. I haven't like burned out on it. I'm still excited for it. But narrative, you just have to find your comfort. I have to find my comfort zone and be with the right kind of people. I've learned that. So it's almost even, a lot of times it's less about, well, it's about everything, but the people are extremely important to committing, like, whatever it is, 3-4 months of your life to. It can be more, I guess.
I think something I'm interested in, because her and I have discussed kids, and I'm not sure when that would happen, but I don't know if there's like a right time that you'll be ready to be a father or something, because I feel that sometimes I'm not comfortable in my career yet, or whatever even that means.
Yeah.
And I think something I'm trying to figure out and ask people is, like, within a field that provides unpredictability and maybe not stability, how do you find that stability in being a father and being grounded and being at home and not taking maybe certain baggage with you at home?
I find it a good thing. I don't have any issues with it. I mean, I think when I'm gone, I'm gone, but when I'm here, like, it's like I'm fully into it. When I'm here, I think a lot of parents who have like 9 to 5, I would argue that I don't know, it's a hard argument, but I would say I'm more present than a lot of people, because when I'm not working, I'm just like, here I am,
Right.
just like waiting for the kids to come home, or picking them up, taking them to school, whatever. So I'm fully committed. There's no distraction really when I'm not working. So I enjoy it. I think it's been great.
Part of my, I don't want to say like calling is to be a dad, but it's something that I really look forward to in my life one day.
Yeah,
is to be a dad.
Then you should do it.
Yeah.
I say to people, like, if you don't want to do it, don't do it. There's no reason to do it. Like, people feel like compelled to do it, like they're missing something. But if you want to do it, it's great.
For sure.
It's a wild ride.
Do you think the day that you became a dad, you changed as a person?
I describe it as like BC and AD.
Okay.
It's like literally your life, like that little thing comes out and your whole life, view, everything changes.
Do you become less selfish? More selfish?
Yeah, you become less selfish.
Less selfish.
Yeah.
How does that kind of translate to your work and like what you choose to do?
I mean, you think about your kids watching your work, which is a trip.
Like the type of content?
Yeah, that's a thing, for sure.
Does that directly inform what you said yes to? And like, if it's something that maybe is like too, I don't know, not something for kids to watch, you would say no to something potentially?
Potentially. I mean, it's not the one thing, but it definitely factors.
Right.
I would say that's the main thing, you know. I would say children also inspire you, you know, to do better work, I think. And I think those are kind of wrapped into the same thing. But yeah, it's I lost track. What was your question?
No, that's totally fine. I think just the importance of being a dad and like how that's changed you as a person inherently, or is like how's that changed you as like a husband, and also has that changed like translated into your work at all?
Yeah, I mean, I just think I'm a softer person, I think, you know. And I think hopefully that means more human somehow, and emotionally available and connected, you know. I mean, children are great, you know, like I think they add to the narrative of life, to the richness of it, you know, and I think they add to your ability to see the world. Do they inform your work? I mean, they must in some way, but like I don't know how much they actually change your work.
Even like my little cousins, is there just constant ability to be curious about the most simple things?
Yeah.
I think that is something that I want to bring to my work, is just more playful, childlike energy.
Yeah. Well, yeah, for sure. They're like in it. They're like in the moment, for sure. They're innocent minds that come up with weird ideas that you'd never think of. I try to, you know, I love childlike behavior. I try to always bring that into my life in every aspect. Think like a child.
If you could pinpoint or kind of think about the span of your career, and I know we talked a little bit about your past and things that you have changed, but is there anything else that you could look about in your career or even in your life outside of film that you wish you would have done differently?
Wow. Yeah, I'm sure there's a million things. I mean, done differently is a weird, you know.
It is weird, for sure.
I try not to have like regrets.
Of course. Yeah.
I mean, there were a lot of movies that I turned down that ended up being hits, for sure. But I don't know if I like regret that at all. Yeah. I don't like have any regrets. Definitely not. I definitely either rationalize them away or just have too much fun doing this stuff that I'm doing now. You know, that I just every shoot that I do, I really do have fun. At least in the last, you know, one separate out of every 10 or 12 is kind of like, you're like, oh, that kind of sucked. But I always find a way to enjoy it.
Of course, yeah, love that. Do you find that inspiration sometimes, when you try to find inspiration for work, is a good thing and a bad thing? Because the way that I look at it now, because there's like shot deck, frame set, there's like a bunch of, I mean, on Instagram alone,
yeah.
I don't know about you, but my feed is filled with DPs and directors, and I'm constantly looking at stuff.
Yes.
So do you find that looking at that work and finding inspiration that way, does that limit your ability to be original?
Well, I don't really believe in originality. I think, you know, everything's been done, for sure. So I think my approach is like, I'll find reference, but every time I do it, it turns out so much different than the reference. So it's more, inspiration is a great word. It's just inspiration, you know. I love being inspired and aiming for something. But at the end of the day, I don't feel like my work is like, I don't think anyone's saying I'm copying anything or anything. I feel like somehow it always ends up feeling like my work. And I feel. I think it's just, again, it's just like, are you connected to it? Does it move you? I think if you're copying something, you're not like being moved. You're just kind of like going like, oh, that looks like this, you know.
You don't seem to be the person that really settles.
Yeah, I mean, I just think like if you have a reference and you're trying to like match something that's not your work, it also just feels boring and kind of it's not like emotional, you know. Like when you set down a reference and you look at it, you go down that road, but when you're there and you're in it, it feels like that's far away, and you're just like in it, and you're just like trying to figure out how to connect and how to feel and how to like craft, make this whatever it is. There's just so much chaos in filmmaking that like you're just trying to navigate this wave, this massive wave that's so much bigger than you, and trying to hit like a specific reference just seems, at the moment, kind of like far away from all that, you know.
I'm curious about your process when kind of getting onto a project.
Yeah.
What are some of the initial conversations like with the director in particular? Are you trying to inject your ideas immediately, or are you trying to be more of a listener in the beginning?
That's interesting. Depends on the director, depends on the situation. I use references a lot. I love references, and I watch films a lot.
Do you build specific, like, sort of reference lookbooks or whatever for each commercial that you do?
I would say just yes, and not lookbooks, but like, you know, links and images.
Right, just references.
Yeah, I'll just use like you know, whatever. Maybe like I've been getting into just using like those shared folders. You know, those are good. I love working with references. I think that they're really helpful. I've always loved them. I've always, even before not before the internet, but before, like, you know, we had all this stuff that we're talking about, I would always dig, you know. It was always very important to me to kind of, I'm not a great, like, academic mind, like I said before, but I do have a great visual mind, and I can communicate my thoughts pretty clearly through images, so that's my dialogue. So I'm able to do that. As far as directors and communicating with them and my ideas, I do tend to be more, I wouldn't say forceful, but more opinionated, maybe.
Okay.
I think I'm a DP who sometimes throws off directors about how many ideas I have. I'm always willing to throw them away, but I think some people feel like I'm almost too vocal and too present, and I think actually that has burned me in the past, and I've developed that relationship, that reputation, and I think that can backfire on me. Tends to work maybe better with younger directors who are maybe a little bit more open to it. Some of the more seasoned directors I work with don't necessarily love that. I think there's so many voices in their head, they don't want to hear another one. But some love it, and I just find my people, I just can't help it. I have so many ideas. I'm like a fountain of ideas, and I always have been. And I'm always excited to try to, again, like, I just the kind of person, I want to feel connected, and I want to talk, and I want to know, and I want to be, I want to be I'm just maybe overly involved as a DP and stepping over my, like, job description, but I just can't help myself.
I mean, I think that's part of if not the reason why, from my perspective and the people that I know that are familiar with you and your work, are the reason why we look at you as like one of the top commercial DPs.
Thank you.
And like, truly, your work is inspirational. And I think that really stems from what you're saying right here, is that you really have this ambition, this passion, that inherently, whatever it is, you feel that you just need to put yourself into it. And regardless, like, I think that it speaks volumes to, from us, what we see in your work.
And I appreciate that, and I get a lot of love from the DP community, and I love it. It's amazing, and I'm just, you know, I'm always overwhelmed with that, and I think DPs are great people, and they're always sweet and amazing. I will say though, there is a real other side to that, which is, some directors, producers, there really is a detrimental side of that too. So I would just say there's all different ways to do it, and but that's, again, I've tried to stop my voice from being so loud, but it tends to be.
I was going to ask if you find that you are adaptable to different DPs, directors' personalities or producers' personalities.
I am, and I've had to work on that, and that's a challenge for me. But yeah, I am. Again, that's the challenge for me, to do that. But I can do it. It's just, I'm from New York City. Like, I'm a Jewish guy from New York City. It's like, let's go. Like I want to talk, and I want to know, and I want to know what's in your head, and I want to know what's in that person's, what's going on, and what's for lunch, and da-da-da. It's just like, I have a personality, and I think that also stems from, like, being connected to my family. Like, I'm a real person. I have like tons of friends, and whatever, I'm not gonna brag about my social life, but you know what I mean? It's like, yeah. I'm not like a nerdy, quiet dude, right? Like, I'm not sitting in my room, like, looking at lenses, I'm out socializing and going, I live in Manhattan. My wife and I go out to dinner almost every night. Like, we have a life beyond cinematography. So when I get on set, I can't, like, shut that off, It's just like,
that's who you are.
That's who I am.
Yeah.
And it's just...
You've always been that way?
Yeah.
Even in the beginning of your career, everything?
I've always been a very social person, I always have been very extroverted I've always been interested in all kinds of things in life. Just not cinematography. I'm obsessed with. It's amazing, but I don't look at it. It's just one thing that I do.
You don't solely identify as that.
And not even close. Like, I think, like, I'm a cinematographer. If someone wants to talk to me about it, like someone cool like you, I'll talk to them about it. But that's not really, like, my end all be all. Like, I want to go travel the world and be with my friends and be with my family and be, like, I don't want to live a myopic existence. I want to have I want everything. I want the family, I want this, and I want the travel, and I want to eat great food and meet amazing people. And it's just, I think in the cinematography world, there is a tendency to attract certain type of people. And again, I don't know a lot of DPs because I don't ever know. So, but to me, the ones that I've met, a lot of times are not necessarily fully. I don't want to, like, disparage anybody, but they just feel like they identify so much with their career that they kind of lose their personality and don't really, like, develop their sense of self without being connected to a camera and a lens.
I aspire to get to the point where I don't identify only as a DP. Like, I want to be, and like I love that you don't identify only as a DP. You do all these other things, and that's your life. I love that, and I think that's hard sometimes for me in the beginning stage because I'm so aggressively determined to succeed in cinematography. I find that I'm so focused on it so often because I'm not where I quote unquote perceive where I want to be yet.
Yeah.
So I think I'm at my point. It's almost like there has to be an imbalance a little bit because I'm super ambitious.
Yes. I think I was there. I appreciate that. But I think it's a slippery slope. Like, you have to have goals and set them, and then you have to look yourself in the mirror and be like, check, and now let's try to like do some other things with your life.
So essentially it's not like check, what's next?
Yeah.
It's check, let's turn around for a second.
Well, I think it's
a little bit of both.
Well, no, I think that I know what you're saying, but I think maybe more clearly it's like, okay, like, I've reached a certain goal. I had a goal. Look yourself in the mirror, proud of myself. You have to have moments of being proud and realize that you've achieved a goal that you set out to. Then you sort of like turn away from that goal for a second and start spreading your energy around to other parts of life, because life is massive and it can give you so many things and so many avenues that you're just kind of, so you can get so absorbed in this world that we're talking about that it can steal your soul. And it, so I think, I've met all kinds of crew members who you're just like, you're on set like 300 days a year. Like you've lost you're not a person. You're like this weird robot or something,
And I think that's really interesting, because a lot of the conversations I have with the younger DPs and people is like, I am struggling to find work. But then there's also the other side of like, how much work is too much work? And I find that to be a really interesting balance that not a lot of people talk about as well.
No, that I've been through that. I've been through, like I said, there was a point a long time in my life where I was so in demand that I was just turning work down constantly. It was just like, and I had to really stop and just not burn out, and again, just try to find other things to do with my brain, because I was becoming, you don't want to burn out on the thing that you love, so yeah, I think that's an important conversation as well, but it's all balance. Everything's balance.
Do you think it's also understanding what your true priorities are, where some people might have the priority of, I want to be a high-level DP, but also I want to make so much money. So like their priorities might be, I just need to work. But some others' priorities might be, I want to be a top-level DP, but I also want to go travel with my family. So I think it's individual priorities that take a big role in that.
Yeah, but there are patterns in those things, Again, like if you want to be a top-level DP, there'll be moments where you're like, sacrificing things, like a lot of things.
What are some things that you feel that you sacrifice sometimes to get to the level that you're at?
I mean, definitely, I've missed a lot of birthdays. Definitely have done that. Try not to do that, but I do it. I think that, again, I was confused at a young point in my life where my personality was becoming something that I didn't want it to be. So it was pretty angst-driven, and it wasn't really the version of myself that I look back upon fondly. So yeah, you just do things that ambition is a crazy thing. Ambition is a narcotic, and at what cost? So that's really what you weigh as you're kind of going down these roads. How important is it to shoot a superhero movie? To me, it's not important at all, but it seems like it's very important to a lot of people. So I know I've sacrificed things to shoot like an independent movie or whatever I want to shoot. So I can only imagine what people are doing to shoot a Marvel film. I'm not saying you can't do it all. You can. This is my own vision on it, right? And so, because I do know people who are mentally healthy and who are doing those kind of films, but they, there's always a tax on all that stuff.
Are you a spiritual person at all?
I'm Jewish. I was raised Jewish. My wife's Jewish. My children are obviously Jewish. Spirituality. Wow, that's a big one. I don't know. I'm stopping out. No, I think I'm spiritual to a degree. Yeah, I mean, I think I am. I think I find spirituality mostly in my family, but I'm not really. I don't know the right words. Not to the degree of a lot of people. Put it that way. Yeah.
I guess maybe to kind of piggyback off the idea of spirituality or something. I think something that I find that is really important in my life is just like the presence of like gratitude.
Yeah.
And I'm curious about if that's played a role in your life and the benefits maybe of being grateful for this.
Oh, I think I've been so lucky. I think I think I've been really lucky. Like I feel like I'm the luckiest person I know. I mean, I feel like as a young man, there were so many roads I could have taken, and yeah, I feel. I mean, obviously, you always want more, and like your life could be better. So I'm not saying that I'm like satisfied. I'm not saying that. That's annoying. But I do feel like I got super lucky.
Do you find that you have the same level of ambition? That you have these, there's the idea that you can always have more.
Yeah.
But when you're younger, that idea is really strong.
Yeah.
But now at your stage of life, do you feel like you still have that sense of, I need to have more? Or what does that look like now?
Again, I look at ambition as kind of like a narcotics. It's like something that you can get addicted to. And I think I've had different relationships with it throughout my life. So I think I've had more ambition, less ambition. Right now I'm feeling pretty ambitious, which is good. I'm feeling like connected to my work kind of more than I have in maybe the last decade before. But
what do you attribute that to?
I think it's just cyclical.
Okay.
I think it's just
like seasons and
or just through? No, I think it's like half decades. Like I think it's just like where you're at. Like
wow.
I think again my kids are getting older now, so like I'm ready to commit more of my time and energy to other things besides them. So I just feel like I'm more excited about filmmaking than I've been in a long time. I don't know. I just feel like it's this thing that is constantly there, and I'm pretty able to measure it like inside of me, and I kind of know like where I'm at with it. Like I can gauge it. But I'm also very wary of it. And I also find sometimes when you're ambitious, overly ambitious, it backfires. So sometimes the world is just not wanting your wants, and you have to be in tune with that.
Where do you find that you're experiencing the most joy in your life right now?
I am enjoying, of course, my children, but I am enjoying set more than ever. Really, I really am. I feel like I feel kind of like like the Mr. Miyagi on set right now. I just feel like a lot of time I'm working with younger people now. I'm 50 years old, so I just turned 50 this year. So like especially in the short form world, like that's kind of like grandpa style. So like I just nothing phases me anymore. And I'm able to concentrate much deeper, and I just don't get distracted. So
interesting.
It's kind of a zen space for me.
That's really.
And it was not always like that.
Yeah.
When you've done enough work on all different types of things, thousands of whatever they are, short form work, it places less. Like I still want to crush it. I still want to smash it. I want to hit it out of the park every time. That I don't lose, but the stakes are a little less high, I think.
Do you feel like you put less pressure on yourself?
No, I still put pressure. I still put immense pressure on myself, and I'm a huge critic. But when it's wrapped and I come home, it's less of a thing. It doesn't. The bank of work that I've built allows me to be a little less like nervous or like if it didn't work out, if it gets shelved, like sometimes you do something that never sees light day and you get crushed. Like that kind of stuff doesn't faze me anymore. So I'm allowed. So on set, that kind of calmness and that sense of like stability, which was never there for me before, it comes so much easier.
Do you think that there's a misconception that maybe a lot of younger filmmakers or DPs have now, that they wish or they perceive that they should be somewhere that they're not? But I don't think a lot of us, putting myself in with a lot of younger people, that we understand really and truly how long it takes to get to the point where we want to?
Well, that's a hard question. It's a good one, because that has all changed, and I feel like it changes every year with all the new tech and all. I don't really. It's hard for me to get inside of other DPs' heads.
Yeah.
And I don't, especially because I don't really feel akin to a lot of them, and I don't really have any other friends that are DPs. So I don't really understand what's happening out there. But I will say that when we were shooting film, it was a much harder job. It was a much, much harder job. Being a gaffer was a hard job. I mean, just color temperature alone was like, we used to get into telecine, what I call telecine, you guys call color. Telecine was the most, I mean, there was, you couldn't like grab something and like change the color temperature. It was a nightmare. I mean, it was, so that sort of like learning curve seems to have gotten a lot softer, because now it seems much more immediate. I mean, I think cinematography has gotten way better. Like, the level of cinematography is so much better than it was. But the bell curve, I think that's changed. Like, how you're able to break in. So it's hard for me to gauge that kind of question, I guess. Because I come from a certain place where it was a different, I was 15 years of film. And now we're doing video, which I love. I find it so much easier. But I just shot something on 16 and underexposed everything. So it was like, and we didn't get to see the film for like 4 days because we shot it out of the country, and it was nerve-wracking. I mean, it was like your whole life is flashing through your eyes, like at night you're just like, wow. It was annoying, and I felt annoyed by it. But then you see it, you're like, oh yeah, great. Like, I'm always shooting film now. Like, film's amazing. Like, it's just that whole process of being a journey as a young DP, I think is hard for me to understand. Yeah.
I think it's something that I don't know if this is the right perspective, but something that I've been thinking about is, I look at certain jobs or I look at certain work and I'm like, I wish I was doing that, or I wish I could do that like right now. But then I have to like sit back and realize, if I were given that opportunity to shoot that big thing, would I actually be prepared for it?
Right.
My answer is no, I don't think I would be yet. I haven't gone through enough for me to feel comfortable enough to actually say, yes, I can accomplish that job.
Right.
And I think that's something where maybe some people are missing is truly experience, and also going through so many things. Like you said, you've seen everything. So now you're in this sort of Zen state that I haven't gotten to yet, obviously, because I'm still a baby here.
And I've been there, and I understand what you're saying, totally. I mean, I just think, like, again, you have to be in sync with your existence, and really understand that it's a step-by-step thing, and like, push yourself, try to put your name on things visually, try to make it your own, and eventually you'll get there. And so when you're there, it'll just feel like another thing, like those opportunities you should feel in sync with every opportunity that you're getting.
But it should scare you a little bit, though.
I like to be scared.
Yeah.
I always,
that's important to you?
I feel fear is a very important thing. I've always used it. I've always depended on it.
But fear in the sense of trying something new or something you haven't done before. With the technology and I guess innovation, I think something I am trying to figure out too is, as I step up as a DP, there's obviously new tools, new things that you get access to. How do you find the confidence to pitch something or a piece of tool, for example, like a techno crane on something, if you've never done it before?
Oh yeah, that old thing. The old if you haven't done it, how do you know? Which is, I was always like, just do it. Like,
just do it.
I was just always like, I never was scared of that stuff. I mean, I was scared, but I would just say like, F it, like, let's go. Like, I don't care. Like, I still don't feel totally comfortable on the wheels. I still just, it's like I'm dyslexic or something. Or, I mean, I can do them, and like, you know, after all this time, like, I've done so much of it, but like, and I hate that other thing, like the fluid head that's like, you know, that thing, like, it's a fluid head that is attached to the remote head. It's like a pan bar.
Okay, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm familiar with wheels and joysticks.
There's a third option.
Okay, I'm not familiar with the third yet.
Basically, it's a mimic of, you have a fluid head and you pan it like this without a camera on it.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. I've seen that.
Yeah. It's so dumb. But you end up like walking around the tripod. Anyway, so my point is like, I do my best to have the right people and the right equipment,
the right team. Yeah.
And I think if you have the people and because there's so many great like operators and techno crane operators and head techs and if you just engage with these people, they'll help you.
Yeah.
And now they're like my collaborators, and there's just so many great technicians out there.
When you say like communicate with them, how do you feel about the idea of like transparency and explaining to them that you aren't familiar with it?
You have to do that. I actually wish I did that more. I mean, I did it quite a bit. I was like, dude, like, I don't know how to do this.
Right.
Can you help me? And 99% of the time, they're like so excited to help you.
But transparency is important.
Yeah, people want to help you, especially if you're a young person. Most crew members are, if you have a certain amount of, a bit of a nose for like hiring people, you know, most of them are such great people and want to help and want to teach, and I think it empowers them.
Do you tend to work with a lot of the same people over the years? Like, what are characteristics that you look for in people?
I think that's hard to say. I mean, I hold people up to high standards. I'll let somebody know if they're not. I'm pretty good at that. Like, if they're not like living up to my standards or whoever's standards
on set.
Yeah, I'm pretty good at telling people that.
If you don't mind me asking, what does that conversation look like?
It's gnarly. It's no fun, but it's contentious. But I'm also willing to I mean, I'm not doing what like some of these 90s directors were doing, where they're like undressing people in front of the whole crew, which is unbelievable. I've seen it happen. One director in particular, who I worked with for years, was a monster. But he would go home and he'd feel bad, and he'd be like, and sometimes though, the guy who he crushed on set would come up to him and say like, thank you, because it was, I don't know, this was his whole theory. But I don't advise that. But I will let people know, like, I'll find a way to kind of just tell them that I was like disappointed, or we talked about this thing, and it's like, I feel that one of my biggest problems in filmmaking and in actual cinematography is that you pay for things, not you, but the production pays for things that a lot of times don't actually work. For example, like, it doesn't happen as much anymore, but it still happens. You'll get an order at 18K and it shows up on set and it doesn't turn on. You still pay for it. Or, you know, you hire a crew member, you have a very, very clear conversation about like what the objective is. That comes time to be on set, here's the thing, gotta do this, and they can't do it. And they still get paid. What's the repercussion? They don't get fired. You're not firing somebody. Maybe you don't hire them again, but they're still off working. Anyway, I just don't love the checks and balances there. So I try to let people know in the most polite way, you know, I'm just trying to say like, a man or a woman, whatever, like come on, like we're supposed to be the best of the best here. Like let's live up to that, because I believe in that for sure. I believe in delivering for sure.
Does that